Okay, the White House said President Biden did not focus on the border crisis when he met with the leaders of Mexico and Canada, but Texas is. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joins us now. Sir, it's great to have you back on. Is it true that the Texas Army National Guard and others in law enforcement are doing riot drills at the border and aerial deployment exercises on the bank of the Rio Grande to prepare for migrant caravans? Is that happening?
Unfortunately, we're having to prepare for things that we never would have anticipated, 2 years ago or even a year ago. And yes, they have to prepare all kinds of different ways for the worst type of scenario, with thousands of people potentially coming at the same time. Some of them may be criminals, some of them may be terrorists. We just don't know.
So migrants from 150 countries have been caught coming in. Mideast, thousands from Russia. So are you guys using recycled shipping containers as well as a border wall?
Yeah, it's amazing. We're using all kinds of creative ways. The governor's employed every means that he can to try to deter people, since we know the federal government, the Biden administration, is not doing that. So it's left up to us to do our very best to try to keep people from crossing the border, especially in places that could cause problems for some of our citizens.
We know there's a big constitutional fight. Texas defending itself. Federal government oversees immigration policy. But now look at this. Bloomberg is reporting that government investigators have been unable to locate unaccompanied migrant children they potentially allegedly turned over to labor traffickers. DHS, HHS, Labor Department trying to investigate this in Alabama. The fear is that they're put into this cluster of meat factories and slaughterhouses, children in some of the most dangerous, dirty wage jobs in the country. And, these undocumented immigrants who work in these slaughterhouses, they're afraid. They don't even use their own name. So, all the phony kind of grandstanding in Washington that what they're doing is humanitarian, what you're doing is not. What do you say?
Well, this has been my concern from the beginning. You have thousands of children crossing the border every month. There's no way to track them all. They release them into these communities, and they're subject to all kinds of bad people. And there's no doubt in my mind that there have been thousands of kids who have ended up in the hands of traffickers and sex traffickers and labor traffickers, and it's very unfortunate. And more is continuing as we let more children in who don't have supervision. So how does that message get out to Congress and to the White House that now you're harming children? You're putting them in, they're ending up in meat factories, slaughterhouses with cattle, chicken, and other products. I mean, Texas Senator John Cornyn is accusing Homeland Security of washing its hands of these children's well-being after they're transferred to HHS and then on to sponsors. They are not tracking it. What do you say to that? Well, sadly, I think they know this is happening. They've ignored it. They've pushed it aside as if it's not happening. But if you and I know about it, I guarantee the Biden administration knows about it. Congress knows about it. If John Cornyn's talking about it, he's doing so rightly. The administration knows this is happening. They're just pushing it under the rug. And unfortunately, this means bad things for these children continuing into the future. So, what else is happening? The Wall Street Journal reporting Democrat Senator Robert Menendez of New Jersey said the White House is in disarray over the border crisis it created, that it's, quote, running from one moment to another and making policy on the fly. And that's a recipe for disaster. That's Senator Menendez saying that. There's reports of infighting between progressives and former Obama and Hillary officials who don't like what they see going on at the border. What do you say to that? Well, at least there's some disarray. I mean, at least there's somebody in the administration that has trouble with this, that is flagging this as a huge problem. And maybe they're doing not only that for election purposes, but this legitimately affects negatively Americans, people on the border, children, as we discussed, and hopefully some common sense will be heard from this administration at some point before we end up with more disasters along the border. Sir, so Texas is battening down the hatches. Is Arizona doing it at its border? Because we hear, illegals are crossing into Arizona. Yeah, I don't know. I would assume that they are, because they have state leaders that I think care about this issue. But I know that we are. I'm not sure exactly what Arizona is doing. So we're a humanitarian country. We want immigration. We are built on immigration. We want it done legally at the ports of entry. You do it illegally, crime explodes. We see that with drug and human trafficking. Your final word. I'm going to tell you, people on the border who have families that have immigrated here legally are frustrated, and they're scared This needs to be done the right way, and it needs to be done by law, not by an administration that just ignores federal law and invites people to cross no matter who they are and what their background.
And we're tracking the polls. Hispanics and minorities at the border don't like what the White House is doing. They don't like what Biden is doing at all. They're turning away from the president and the Democrats. Attorney General Ken Paxton, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you.